even know more about Deadstone Valley? Let's go.
After digging out all this stuff the last time, I found myself on a dead end. I contacted HTL, and basically they told me that they have gotten rid of most of their staff. I didn't really know what happened there. Apparently HTL was taken over by a different company. So it was back to the drawing board for me. It wasn't so bad because actually all this research did give me an idea. So I started to search for former employees of HTL. And I got lucky. I managed to dig out Mr. Owen Johnson. And he is the creative design and IT manager at H. Grossman Limited. And he told me right away that he was basically the package designer for the line. He told me that Deadstone Valley was an original idea by HTL. The original idea came from Martin Grossman. They worked together in a very small team. Owen thought there should have been more marketing or maybe even an animated series to really sell it. But things didn't work out that way. So I asked him if he would know a few things about who made them, who did the modeling and everything, and he came up with a name, Peter McKenna. And after a while, he also managed to give me his contact. So I was able to talk to Mr. McKenna. And Peter McKenna was the sculptor and designer of Deadstone Valley, which is crazy cool. So I got in contact with him, and he's a very nice guy, and he answered me a lot of questions. So it all started off as a series of silly headstone inscriptions. Martin Grossman asked Peter McKenna if he could do something with them, and he soon then developed the flip-up figures concept. Initially, he illustrated the prows, but very soon he was creating his own characters, and they ended up with about 60 different figures. 60. So we have gotten 12 of those in the final release, but it was over 60 figures. So he also told me he had nothing to do with designing the characters on the package or on the homepage. He told me the business was moving in a different direction. They had many toylands to pursue, and this one just got left behind, so that's the reason for it not being continued. He created the sets at the shows. He threw them together in an afternoon, and he made a graveyard plot, which you can see here in the pictures, and it never made it into production. Some elements of those plots were used in the sets on the shows, but the sets were thrown after the show, so they're gone. There's no way we can get them or save them or something. They were thrown out. So the graveyard sets was actually planned to be released, but it never came to be. The prototypes were all made to scale. He used the plastiline, which is a mix of plasticine and wax, and because it releases from the molds easier. And he mainly uses dental tools for the modeling. He had no main influences while designing them, but he was thinking more about who they were and what they did. And often they were made as a complete figure and then decomposed to expose skeletal features and stuff like that. So the making process was great to know. Peter first told me that he had nothing to do with the production or release of the figures, so he doesn't know what happened to the prototypes once he sent them off. All the figures that he made, the prototypes that he made, were sent off to the office in Glasgow. So there's pretty much no way to get to them or that he could sell some or any of that. He has no idea where they are now. The backstories for each character were all in his head, he said. They were just a method of working. So very interesting. And he actually sent me a few of those, which you can see here. So he gave me an interesting footnote as well. Deadstone Valley was originally going to be called Here Lies ... So that's the original title basically. So Peter sent me all the photographs he still had from the originals. All in all, there were 64 figures or characters. He actually doesn't work for HTL anymore currently, so he cannot tell me if there will be a comeback at one point in time. So that's one of the pictures he sent me, and we get a really good look here at all those prototype figures, especially a lot of those that were not released. Those are really good pictures, the best I've seen so far. And what you might find very interesting is this guy, this little guy, because we have never ever seen that before. That was never featured in any of the pictures I've found so far. So this guy and this guy. So these are already two new figures. He also sent me this picture, and this is fantastic because there's a whole row of figures we have not seen before. A whole bunch. So if you look at that, we have the first guy, which I can't really tell what he is. He's dressed in black and very bloody. I really don't know. He's pretty chopped up. The next one is the magician here. He looks great. I would have loved to have those. Then this one looks like a soldier, maybe from the Civil War. I don't know exactly. And then we have the miner here. Also, we have the vampire, and we have the mummy here. Those are great figures. Again, I would love to have those. Never seen those before. And then in the last row down here, we see two more figures we haven't seen before. And that is like a Terminator guy, and we have a sumo ringer. So this is fantastic. I mean, I would have never thought we would see something like that. I mean, also the gallery is fantastic. I would have loved to have that gallery to display my figures here, where you can stand them up and underneath you have space for the coffins. How great is that? I mean, how great is that? So there's another picture he sent me, and this is about the cart for the coffins, so you could actually, drive them to the cemetery. And this is also cool because there's a little cat on the wagon, which looks great. There's two different kind of coffins. I mean, they are the original design of some of the coffins there. And if you look at that picture where we have them all together in this huge gallery, you have on top you have the Undertaker, and on the bottom you have those two grave diggers, and then you have basically all the figures that we have pictures for combined here in this huge gallery, which again, I would love to have. And if you look very closely in the gallery, it has tons of details. On the bottom you see the cart and the sleeping cat on the floor, and then there's a rat down here, I think a frog down there, and then there's a raven on the top right. So there's so much stuff to see, and all those gargoyle heads on the top and left. So this is really cool stuff. So that's all we know so far. So basically the story ends here for now, because we know now what happened to all those unreleased prototypes. They were never released as far as we know, and the released versions have less detail than all those prototype pictures I've shown you. So it's really absolutely fantastic, and I'm so grateful for Peter McKenna and Warren Johnson to bring me in contact with him and answering all those questions.
They're still out there, and I'm gonna find them.